Oh, it is so cold out in my garage tonight. This is ridiculous. Just bear with me a minute. I need to go and huddle round my heater to warm up. This is not just a pathetic excuse to do an intro. I'm running out of ideas. I'm not Casey Neistat. I can't do time lapses every day. There's not enough to lapse around here. So if you've got any ideas for how I could do a proper intro every day without it being some animated nonsense that I got off of Fiverr.com, but sometimes, and when I say sometimes, like 3 or 4 times a week, it will need to be something I can throw together in my garage and send on a postcard to the usual address. In other news, I have been giving a little bit more thought today about how I am going to pay the bills come September and running some numbers. I have made so many spreadsheets over the last month that I'm basically considering just becoming a guy who makes spreadsheets because I'm getting so good at it. But the interesting thing that I discovered, and this is something I really need to get better off if this is how I'm actually going to be paying the bills, I need to keep track of where my money's coming from and where it's going. But this book that I wrote 2 years ago, it went from an idea in my head to do it to a physical thing, proper book with words in. That was a process of about 6 weeks. From thinking of it to it being in my hand and people buying it. 6 weeks after I had the idea, it was #1 on the Kindle chart for study skills. So that was 6 weeks work. That book, in the 2 years since, has made nearly £6,000, which I didn't realise. I mean, it sounds like a lot when you say it like that. It comes in little drips over the course of that 2 years. But that's quite lucrative. I haven't written another book since that. I wonder if I put my mind to it, because I say it was 6 weeks work, there was no more than 45 minutes to an hour's work a day went into that. I would get up at 5, I'd write 2,000 words. That 2,000 words takes me, depending on how tired I am, between 30 and 45 minutes. And then I'd go and have a cup of coffee and get ready for the day. So I did that every day for about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, and that gave me my 12,000 words that comprise this book. It's not a big, massive book. It's less than 100 pages, but, you know, it does the job. It does what it's supposed to do. That was the hard bit over. I then paid an editor $100, I think it was. He was in America. $100, got 6 rounds of revisions out of him just turning it from my nonsense into something that actually reads really well, and I've read it since, and I can't believe they were words that I came up with, mainly because most of them aren't. They're words that he suggested I use in place of my nonsense. So, but that wasn't massively involved. That would basically be, I'd send him a file, he'd have it for a day, day and a half, send it back. I'd click accept on most of the changes that he suggested. We'd maybe talk about 1 or 2 of them. Then I'd send it back and he'd look at it again. And that went on for about a week. While that was going on, I went onto Fiverr.com and paid 4 different people to design covers for this. And this was one of the covers that came back. There were 3 others. I put it as a vote on my social media pages, both to decide which one was going to be the best cover, and also to let everyone on social media know that there was a book coming. Marketing. So that cost me $5 per cover. The winning one, I then spent another £5 to get them to make the bit at the back as well, and the bit that goes around the side, so that I could get a paperback one made like this, so it's got proper blurb and stuff on the back as well. So the actual cover and everything itself cost me $30 all in. The formatting and everything inside I did myself using a program called Scrivener that cost me about $15. So we're up to $45 plus the $100, like $150 to take $150 and no more than 20 hours of my time, and the book was ready to release. And I've barely thought about it since. That's a process I can replicate, and it's a process I should be replicating over the next 6 months. I could do another 2 of these before I leave work. And it's a big if, but if I did another 2 books that sold as well as this one, which, I mean, it's not pulling up any trees, you know, £6,000 when you say it as an amount seems massive, but when it's spread over 2 years, it's not really. It's what, a couple of £100 a month, realistically, is what it's giving me. After a while, you don't really notice it. Which, it sounds awful, but kind of don't. It's just part of the... everyone's had a pay rise at some point in their life, surely. You get a pay rise, 6 months later, you can't think how you used to survive without the pay rise. That's how it is with this. It's just extra money that I get. It's been eaten up in bills long ago. That's the money that I used to justify buying a computer on credit, which I pay each month. And, I don't know, getting a slightly more expensive phone contract, getting Spotify. There's all these little bits that you get with the money. And that's where it goes. But the point I was making was, if I can do another 2 books before I leave that generate the same kind of income as this one, those, combined with the money I earn from YouTube, the money I get from the Patreon, all of that combined will be fairly close to my current salary before we even start thinking about things like being a carer and the benefits and stuff that come along with that. There's a possibility that I could do this without having to be spongy. And the thing that annoys me most about the whole thing is I don't want to feel like a sponger, and I think this might be the route into not sponging. So I'm going to write a couple of books. I don't know what they're going to be yet. I didn't know what this was going to be until I started writing it. I've got a brainstorming session over the weekend. At the back of my mind I'm thinking, well, that How to Be a Football Manager YouTuber series went down really well on my other channel. Maybe I'd do a book about becoming a YouTuber? Rather than it being a book aimed at the superstars, by the superstars, perhaps a book by someone like me, who went from nothing to 10,000 subscribers and 1 million views in a year. That's quite, I mean, that you offer that to someone starting out, they'll probably say, yes please, I'll have that. That's a more achievable, more manageable goal than 1 million subscribers, which is obviously a book I couldn't write because I'm nowhere near that and probably never will be. But I can certainly tell you how to get 1 million views in your first year and how to get 10,000 subscribers in your first year, because I did that. Well, I did the views. The subscribers was a month or 2 late. But still, I reckon I've picked up enough over the last year of doing this to be able to write a book about it. But I need a brainstorm to work out what would go in it. It's just a thought I'm putting out there. I told you my brain would be ticking over. And this is part of the ticking over process. I've got a few things that I'm planning for the channels as well, which we'll talk about over the next few days, but this book thing has been playing on my mind all day, and I think I'm going to try and brainstorm it this weekend. I don't see why I shouldn't share the brainstorming with you lot. I've done it before with an idea that hasn't really panned out. That revision idea, the revision workbook idea from a few weeks ago, it's still there. I'm not going to get it done in time for this revision season, so it goes on the back burner for next year. Like I said at the time, if someone else gets there first, and so be it. There are already books about how to be a YouTuber out there. Plenty of people have got there first. I think mine will be different, just like this one was different. It wasn't the first revision book ever, but it's a nice little earner where if I can stack up a few of these, then we're getting somewhere. So that's the plan. Let me know down in the comments what would be helpful for you to see in a book about how to be a YouTuber, bearing in mind I can only really work from my own experience and my own knowledge. So if you want to know how to get 500,000 subscribers, I can't tell you that, because if I knew how to get 500,000 subscribers, I wouldn't have to worry about writing books, because I'd have enough money then. But if there's something you've seen me do over the last year, or something that you've heard me talk about before that you think should be in a book about how to become a YouTuber, or how to get 1 million views in your first year, or whatever clickbaity name I end up giving it, then let me know down in the comments, because you lot, I am quickly discovering, are better at ideas than I am as a hive mind. And between the lot of us, you've shown an amazing level of support so far to egg me on into doing this. So now we've got that shared responsibility to make sure it wasn't the worst decision, because you were all on board with me. You egged me on. You have to help me figure out how to pay the bills now. So let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see in that book. And then I will write it, and you lot, as in you lot here and now who help me, I'll give you a free copy when we write it, when we've written it. How's that sound? Because that's what I did with this one. For the first 4 or 5 days that it was out for free as a Kindle version. I can't do free paper, trees. But Kindle version, when the time comes, you lot will hear about it first, and it will be available for free. I think that's a fair balance.